Is it ever okay to deceive? What would it feel like to get someone who wronged us to acknowledge their harm? What is the first priority when supporting a victim of abuse? We delve into these questions and much more in this week's episode of Quran Conversations, the podcast for anyone who wishes to unlock the meaning and healing power of the Quran. I'm your host, Dalia Mogahed, an author, researcher, and a student of the Quran. I'll be in conversation with one of my dearest teachers, Imam Majid, a scholar of the Quran and longtime family counselor and congregational leader. If you're enjoying this podcast, please review it on your podcasting platform. It helps more than you know. Quran Conversations is sponsored by Fawakih, an online learning platform for Quranic Arabic, which I myself use. Start your journey in unlocking the language of the Quran. Go to fawakih.org. We hope this podcast encourages your own reflective journey with the Quran. Make sure to stay until the end to hear this week's reflection prompt. For more spiritual insights, follow me on Instagram at Dalia Mogahed. Without further ado, let's delve into the episode. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Quran Conversations. I'm your host, Dalia Mogahed, and I'm joined by Imam Majid, my teacher and mentor. So we are starting with ayah number 70. How are you, Imam Majid?
Alhamdulillah. How about you?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Jum'ah Mubarakah.
Jum'ah Mubarak for you as well.
Okay, let's go ahead and start. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فلما جهزهم بجهازهم جعل السقاية في رحل أخيه ثم أذن مؤذن أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون.
And once he gave them their provisions, he placed the drinking cup in his brother's pack. A man called out, "People of the caravan, you are thieves." So what has happened here is Yusuf alayhi salam placed the king's goblet, something very precious, something very valuable. It could have been made out of gold or silver. And so it's an expensive item. This is not just the regular cup, something very, very expensive. He put it in his brother's bag, and then their security system, saw it, the mu'adhin, and called out and said that they were thieves. So this is a turning point in the story, and will show us how he wants to keep his brother with him, and perhaps bring his own family as well.
Yeah, it's very important for us to understand what Yusuf alayhi salam have done here. This is not entrapment.
Planting evidence.
Planting evidence, entrapment. Because Yusuf alayhi salam had a conversation with his brother already. He said to him, "I'm your brother. أنا أخوك فلا تبتئس بما كانوا يعملون. إني أنا أخوك." He said, "I'm for sure I'm your brother." And therefore, the brother Benjamin is not worried. He's not to scare him or to entrap him into trouble. But Yusuf alayhi salam, in order to keep his brother, they have to have legal means to do so. They cannot just keep him. And he and his brother agreed onto this trick. Benjamin and him agreed on this trick. And, in the time of oppressions and difficulties and so forth, you can find ways to get out of trouble, even if you trick the opponents. Therefore, Yusuf alayhi salam have done this, called khid'a in Arabic, trick, so that his brother does not go back with them even in this journey. He wants to stop the mistreatment right there.
Yeah.
But he wanted to be a means and ways also to reunite with his family, with his parents, and therefore he put this royal cup, royal measurement, into his brother bag, and then they made the announcement. The only person, or two people know that is exactly what's happening, is Yusuf and his brother. The other people didn't know. Otherwise, they would not went along in this process.
Right.
Therefore, you tell them we have a missing. The royal cup is missing. And by the way, this adhan muadhin is announcement. It's like the adhan. Because the word adhan is meant to announce something. And Allah uses adhan in two places in the Quran. One, to Ibrahim alayhi salam, to announce the Hajj. وأذن في الناس بالحج يأتوك رجالا. And here وأذن مؤذن أيها الأنكم وسارقون. There's a we call latifa. There's something interesting that been reported by Ibn Sirin, rahimahullah. Ibn Sirin being known as a person who interprets dreams.
Yes.
For two people come to him in different time with different dreams, similar dreams, sorry. One of them have seen himself calling adhan. And Ibn Sirin looked at him and said, MashaAllah, inshallah, you're going to go to Hajj.
MashaAllah, subhanAllah.
And then the other person come to him and said, I have seen myself calling adhan. He said, have you taken anything not yours? Just return it back.
SubhanAllah, the same exact dream.
Exactly. For the asked Ibn Sirin, you told one guy this, another guy. He said, the first one, I looked at him and I saw comfort and calmness in his face. And I had a feeling that this adhan is Hajj adhan. And the other person, I saw him under stress and so forth, and I felt something not right. Well, I just gave that interpretation. My intuition said, ask him. And the guy said, yes. He said, just return it. So you don't commit theft. You don't hold something not yours. But the symbolism of adhan in dream. For the other thing in Arabic language, he used the word al-'ir, yatwa al-'ir.
Yes.
The 'ir is a caravan, but also referred to camels. But here it meant the people of the camels, meaning the people of the caravan. And therefore sometimes might say, this town does not smoke, or this town does not do this or that. You mean the people of the town. But here, al-'ir here, it meant the people, And by the way, the announcement made for everybody. He said, everyone who came, one of you have stolen the cup. If they pointed only the brothers, that would be so obvious. But they said, we're going to check everybody.
Right, yeah. Right. Yeah, subhanAllah. It is, what you said was very important about the one who's being framed, or so-called being framed, is not in any distress. He knows exactly what's happening, and he knows that this is in fact something very good for him, because he's going to be staying with his brother who absolutely loves him. And really, this is a deception that has no victims. No one is hurt by this, and I think that's an important point to underscore. And he's also,
although he's going to go to his brothers under stress.
He's going to put them under stress, but they're not being,
they deserve it because
detained.
They put him under stress. They put his parents under stress. Therefore, he gave them a taste of a little bit of that too.
Yeah, very small taste.
Yeah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون. And they turned and said, what have you lost? I'm going to go ahead and read the next ayah, just to kind of give it a complete thought. قالوا نفقد صواع الملك ولمن جاء به حمل بعير وَأَنَا بِهِ زَعِيمٌ. They replied, the king's drinking cup is missing, and whoever returns it will get a camel load of grain, and I give you my word. So it's not a direct accusation. They're saying this is missing, and they're basically giving a prize for whoever returns it. And
it's measuring cup.
Uh-huh.
And it's very interesting. They give an incentive to the person who returned it. And then they said return it voluntary. But you know who's not gonna return it voluntary? Binyamin.
Right.
He has it.
He has it.
Yeah, but because Yusuf alayhi salam talked to his brother, and they knew that if he returned it, that would be over.
Right.
He has to be caught having it in order for him to be held accountable or to stay in Egypt by the law of the land.
Right.
Din al-Malik, as the Quran says.
Yes.
Later. It has to be the law of the land. For Yusuf alayhi salam telling Binyamin, don't tell them. Don't. No. But in the beginning, you have the incentive to tell them that we are not here to punish people. If you return it voluntarily, you'll be okay. Or he might not have said that. The people work for him made that announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you bring it, we'll give you more things. We want the king and the minister not to be upset. Just bring it, we'll give you more food, and we'll be done. But they don't know that Yusuf alayhi salam and his brother are not going to return it.
Mm-hmm. So it shows two things. It shows, first of all, that the drinking cup or the measuring cup was very valuable because they're rewarding somebody with a camel load of grain, which is quite significant, especially in a time of drought. And the other thing it shows us is that at this time, this was not the Egypt of Pharaoh. This was a much more humane, fair, governed place. Then this is one of the reasons he's called a king and not a pharaoh in this story.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
This wasn't Yusuf alayhi salam working for a tyrant. He was working, in fact, for a just king.
Absolutely, two different eras. Actually, this is one of the miracles of the Quran, being very precise in history. They're called the Amaliq. The kingdom here is the kingdom that the Pharaoh actually took over from them, and that's why enslaved Bani Israel, because they thought Bani Israel was supporting the previous government, and that's the reason.
Oh, very interesting.
Musa alayhi salam came after Yusuf alayhi salam.
Right.
Way after him.
Yeah. That's really interesting because it is kind of, we hear the two stories. In one case, a member of Bani Israel was working for the government in a very high position. And then in Musa's story, alayhi salam, they're all slaves. It's like, how did this happen? And that's your explanation is really interesting and important to understand. Imam Majid, would you like to read the next ayah?
Now, here is the response. They're responding by saying, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قالوا تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض وما كنا سارقين.
They said, by God, you must know that we only came, by God, you must know that we did not come to make mischief in your land, and we are no thieves. So very, very alarmed and defensive. I'm going to read the next ayah as well to complete the thought.
No.
قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين. They asked them, and if we find that you are lying, what penalty shall we apply to you? It's very interesting. These two ayahs are almost speaking to two different stories. On one hand, it's speaking to the present situation of the goblet, and it's missing, and they're defending themselves. But interestingly, these same questions could be applied as to the lies they've been telling.
Yeah.
It's almost this double meaning, this immediate literal meaning, and then more of the larger meaning. What is your punishment if you are lying? What should be your compensation?
Yeah, with the punishment for the it's very interesting. He made them the jury. In this ayah, the commentator Mufassirin said, Yusuf alayhi salam, the different laws of the land for the punishment of theft. But he said to them, we're going to give you the ability to determine what kind of punishment. Because he knows in their teaching that in their culture, that the punishment is to hold the person as a prisoner. Prisons.
In fact, this did happen to Yusuf as well as a child, yes, according to the tafsir.
Tafsir, they accuse him.
He didn't steal, but he was accused to steal in order for his aunt to keep him with her.
Yeah, exactly.
So she did the same thing before, and this is where he got the idea, perhaps.
That's what they're saying, that later that يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل. They will say if he's a thief, that his brother had committed theft before. But the interesting here is that the interesting point is that he's saying to them, tell me what kind of punishment this person should have if we find this cup with any one of you, or with anyone. They responded, which is the ayah after that, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. They said, you can read the English.
Yeah, and they answered, the penalty will be the enslavement of the person in whose bag the cup is found. This is how we punish wrongdoers.
Yeah. They said, Yusuf alayhi salam to his brother, the price will be enslavement if the one in whose bag cup is found. That's how we punish wrongdoers. كذلك نجزي الظالمين. يعني the Yusuf alayhi salam now, he know for sure that his brother going to stay with him because they agreed in the process, in the outcome, the punishment. They're not going to make a fuss about it because that shows, by the way, how much they believe that the brother or all of them being innocent of stealing. They may do all kind of things, but not stealing. And then Yusuf alayhi salam, of course, start telling his people who work for him, do not start with the bags, with the bag of my brother. Start with their bags first. Belonging, he really created all kind of drama into this whole issue.
The tension kept building and building. Yeah,
it's amazing that how Yusuf alayhi salam did this. Yeah, so it cannot be so obvious.
One thing I was reading into these ayahs is, as I mentioned, the double meaning. Meaning, these are guilty people. These are people who have committed grave injustices and have stolen in that they stole their brother.
Yeah.
And they have lied in that they lied about what happened to him. They have lied and stolen in the worst possible way.
Absolutely. Stripped him from his childhood.
Stole his father from him, stole him from his father, stole his childhood, enslaved him, did all of these things to him. And now they're bearing witness against themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
They're saying,
he made them feel it.
Yeah, it's like, what is the punishment for someone who steals, a mere goblet, which is really nothing compared to stealing a human being and human trafficking a human being. And he got them to confess in some ways, or to bear witness to their own crimes, to bear witness to their deserved punishment. And why I think that's so important is because later on he forgives them. but he still needs them to understand what they deserve to be punished with. Like they have to recognize, acknowledge, you know what, this wasn't a small thing, and this is actually the punishment that you yourself say
Yes.
a person like this deserves, and I am pardoning you.
Exactly. Exactly. That's very beautiful, because the whole idea of this Surah Yusuf is to talk about family dynamic
Mm-hmm.
and how this family reunion, forgiveness took place, what process by which Yusuf alayhi salam was healed, like one healing process. Now he first wanted to protect his brother, but at the same time he wanted to tell them that the wrong that person can do someone, what can lead to, you know, and have them to realize the uh, the mistake has to happen in phases. He could have said, "Listen, let's sit down. Let me tell you, I'm Yusuf. This is and that." Why have to break the name first?
Mm.
He wanted them to tell them how separation looked like. You know, how to tell them how a person can rock somebody and lead to, as you said, changing their lifetime, the change, great change in their life. I want just to say one thing here that regarding our actions sometimes, regarding one person, like even a child in the masjid. If you see a child, a young person running in the masjid, they want to tell them come down and so forth. You have to say the manner that child that will not hit the masjid.
Mm.
Whatever you do, it can a great impact in that child psyche. I have uh, um, I've seen now adults who, alhamdulillah, have children. They told me that they remember the word I told them when I said them, I'm very happy seeing you in the masjid. I'm very happy seeing you here. They told me that they remember that. I didn't realize they remember that long.
Mm.
But how the person treat a youth, a young person in the masjid, also impact them for a long time. But Yusuf alayhi salam want to teach them, like, one action of yours led to me have been enslaved, thrown into prisons, separation from my parents, and so forth. I'm going to show you one action of mine, how can lead to that. But he wanted Binyamin to be with him. He doesn't want him to travel. This is like not around the corner. This is like traveling months with them. He wants him to be safe immediately. That intervention. And one of the things I just want to say, this October is, we said before, is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. One of the things, when you see somebody safety in question, the first thing you think about is safety. How can we get that person to safety? Because what the problem is, sometimes we try to question people and might return them back to the environment that may be hostile environment. For Yusuf Ali took action, says, okay, I'm not going to have you one day with those people. I'm going to keep you with me. I know that my, have grief to my father, but he has a plan to bring his father and parents. Now he knows how to connect with them, communicate, because they have to come back for their brother. And therefore, that way, going to tell them, bring your parents to me. But you see, me, the safety is number one concern when somebody tell us that he's not feeling safe in an environment. Safety, number one issue.
No, that's such an important point, that getting someone out of the situation where they're in harm's way, even if it requires some small deception to get them out,
exactly,
is absolutely vital. And that is the first order of action, which is what he just said. And so this again underscores the idea of, what do we do with our authority? What do we do with our privilege? What do we do with our ability to exert any kind of authority or power? The first order of action is to protect the vulnerable. And,
yes.
and this is what this ayah and this surah really underscores. I can't remember whose turn it is to read. the next ayah.
As you like.
Okay. Go ahead, please, Imam Majid. If you could read it, that would be great. 76.
فبدأ بأوعيتهم قبل وعاء أخيه ثم استخرجها من وعاء أخيه كذلك كدنا ليوسف ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء الله نرفع درجات من نشاء وفوق كل ذي علم عليم.
That was very beautiful, mashallah. Yusuf alayhi salam began by searching their bags, then his brother's, and he pulled it out from his brother's bag. In this way, we devised a plan for Yusuf. If God had not willed it so, he could not have detained his brother as a penalty under the king's law. We raise the rank of whoever we will. Above everyone who has knowledge, there is the one who is all-knowing. So this turn of events was part of Allah's plan to keep Binyamin with his brother Yusuf alayhi salam. And so as we just heard, he brought it out of his brother's bag, and in this way he was able to keep Binyamin with him according to the law of the land.
Yeah. It shows that Yusuf alayhi salam, in order even to leave his to take his brother in Egypt, to leave him in Egypt, he has to do the legal process.
Mm-hmm.
Because
due process is
due process. If you just said, okay, I'm not letting him go, then it becomes unfair.
Right.
Like imagine if you told them, listen, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to allow you to take him with you. He said, for what reason? I said, I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
We're going to detain him.
Right.
For no reason.
Mm-hmm.
The Yusuf alayhi salam have to have a reason for detention, for keeping him.
Yeah.
You're not going to detain him to keep him, because after they're going to leave with him. He's not going to be in prison. People are going to know that was a trick. But in order for them to realize that Yusuf alayhi salam is not going to do something that, as a person in charge, does not follow the law of the land. Akhahu fi din al-Malik, this is the ruling of Egypt. Because a scholar says that the law of the land of the king, if a person would to commit a theft, has to be enslaved, has to be kept.
Yeah, detained with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it was not befitting for Yusuf to do that, without Allah give him permission. Give him permission to do this, although it's not, it doesn't look fair, but Allah allow him because he want to keep his brother, to protect his brother, as a trick. Yeah.
Yeah. So their response is next. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل فأسرها يوسف في نفسه ولم يبدها لهم قال أنتم شر مكانا والله أعلم بما تصفون. His brothers said, if he is a thief, then his brother was a thief before him. But Yusuf kept his secrets and did not reveal anything to them. He said, you are in a far worse situation. God knows best the truth of what you claim. I wonder if this was something he said out loud or if he said it in his mind.
Not, he didn't say it loud. This because Quran said وَأَسَرَّهَ فِي نَفْسِهِ.
Right.
All of these things was the inner, interpersonal communication. He's talking to himself.
He's
the
talking inside.
interpersonal, RA. Therefore, he was talking to himself, and because still they shows that they don't like Yusuf alayhi salam. All of these years,
They're still
why are you bringing
up
this?
something. Yeah.
That some of Mufassirin says this theft. Imam Tabari mentioned. He said it was an idol that his grandfather from his mother's side were kept, and Yusuf alayhi salam broke and threw it on the street. And then his brothers told him, "Why did he do that? Why did he took the idol?" And then they went and told on him. But he was not a sariqa. He was not a theft. And he wanted to do something good as a child. He thought that maybe idol should not be worshipped. The other riwayah, they said the mother of Yusuf told Yusuf alayhi salam to take an idol that belonged to his maternal uncle. And his mother was Muslimah and told him that just take it from there. And then his brother then told on him. That's what the Mufassirin are saying. And there are other riwayat in this regard.
Yeah.
Some people talk about the belt he had kept, and all of Allah knows which one this is correct. But Yusuf alayhi salam did not steal to take something to benefit himself financially with it.
Yeah, the narration that Sheikh Sha'rawi shares is that he was staying with his aunt as a child, and she absolutely loved him and didn't want him to leave. So she basically accused him of stealing so that he would have to stay with her. And that was the issue, but he never actually stole. So it was almost the same story of
this is ammatuhu. This is his parental aunt.
Yes.
And Yaqub alayhi salam, he kept Yusuf with his parental aunt, which is the Yaqub's sister. In order to keep him, she did that.
Yes. So, similar situation. I think the other thing that this shows is that they still harbor this latent resentment of Yusuf, that they are even bringing up something like this now. Oh, of course he would steal. This is what his brother did. They have this disdain, this contempt for their two brothers. And Yusuf alayhi salam hears it. He knows exactly what they're saying, and they're talking about him, and he exercises enormous restraint. So many people in his place would have just said, "Really? Is that what you said? Is that what you think?" And just orders the guards to take them to prison or whatever. I mean, he could do whatever he wants to them.
That's true. But it's interesting that Yusuf alayhi salam, even with his aunt, he didn't have easy childhood.
No.
Because this is the riwayah that most of the people, the riwayah that you talked about, and most of the scholars accepted that the aunt wanted to keep him, and she couldn't have separation anxiety from him, and then she framed him so that he can stay with her. But it seemed like Yusuf alayhi salam being punished for his kindness and good looking
and his beauty,
and a good child, more than once. But the aunt kept him until she died, and then that Yaqub alayhi salam had him back with him. And that shows that how maybe Yusuf alayhi salam become very close to his father, because there was a separation time also between him and his father. and become close to his father. But subhanallah, now those people bring in this false accusation about Yusuf alayhi salam. Imagine the trauma they brought back to him, the injury, emotional re-injury to him. But the only thing that they remember about Yusuf alayhi salam is bringing this theft that his aunt accused him of. That's why أسرها يوسف في نفسه ولم يبدأ لهم. And he didn't tell them, you cannot say that about me, because he don't want them. He don't want to unveil or reveal his identity yet. Subhanallah. But he said in himself, قال أنتم شر مكانا. You think that I stole something? Like, I like what you said earlier. You have stolen my childhood.
Yeah.
You planned to kill me.
Right.
You throw me into the well. You are really, do you think that, me being accused of stolen something from my aunt equal to the crime that you have committed? أنتم شر مكانا والله أعلم ما تصفون. Allah knows what you're saying. All of this, he internalized it. He just said it to himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many times that some people have been accused falsely in this country?
Right.
Went to prison for a long time. After 20 years, 25 years, DNA found them not guilty. The system will not be able to bring back 20 years, 25 years of their life back to them. And those people walk out of this prison, remembering how they've been framed, remembering that have been accused. You know how many African Americans were lynched?
Yes.
To save a white person?
Right.
Knowing that the white person at the time have committed a crime, and then African American person been lynched at that time.
Mm-hmm.
There was sometimes in this world, the system of justice is not fair. It's meant to protect the elite and the wealthy in many places around the world. And that's why Rasulullah was very upset when Usama tried to intercede in the punishment of a person who committed a crime. He said, no, don't be like people before us. When the elite and the wealthy people commit a crime, they get away with it.
Right.
When an average person commit a crime, they ask for severe punishment for them. He said, by Allah, if my own daughter do wrong, we'll apply the law on her. For Yusuf alayhi salam, remembering the wrong had been done to him, but he said to them, he didn't reveal, but you have done worse than what just happened here now, or what you accuse me of.
Yeah. It's actually a very human exchange. The emotional turmoil that Yusuf must be feeling, where he's confronting his brothers. They're actually insulting him again. They're harming him again, even in this moment. And he's having to restrain himself. He's having not to react. He's having to actually, in some ways, buy time so that he can see his father and mother. But at the same time, he's exercising not only restraint, but benevolence and mercy in the way that he's treating them. And especially, the next ayah, they sound just like groveling at his feet, practically. And how much the tables are turned in terms of the balance of power. Sheikh, would you like to start reading?
قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إنا نراك من المحسنين.
Subhanallah. They said, mighty governor, he has an elderly father. Take one of us in his place. We can see that you are a very good man. They actually even use the same language as the prisoners, his cellmates in prison. Inna naraka min al muhsinin. He is a muhsin in prison. He's a muhsin in the palace. Subhanallah.
And being kind to them. They saw him
Yeah.
how he dealt with ihsan with everybody. This is certification to a person that they have wronged. And subhanallah, there's a latifa here. We call it latifa in tafsir. The word latifa means insight.
An insight, yeah.
Insight.
Or a subtlety almost.
Subtlety.
Yeah.
After they said, يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل. قالوا يسرق فقد سرق له أخ من قبل. يعني now that Yusuf was a thief. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted Yusuf to hear good things too. قال إنا نراك من المحسنين. You're calling me muhsin now. Just a minute ago, you said that I was a thief.
You see, that's such a good point, because it shows that their contempt against him is personal to him, not because of what he's like.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
When they confront him, not knowing he's Yusuf alayhi salam, not knowing he's the boy or the son that their father loves, then they see him as he is, which is min al-muhsinin.
That's why jealousy makes you blind.
They're blinded, and they see him in such a negative light because of their jealousy, not because of his reality.
Absolutely. Jealousy makes a person blind. That they in the Arabic language, there's a poem said, وَعَيْنُ الرِّضَى عَنْ كُلِّ عَيْبٍ كَلِيلَةٌ وَعَيْنُ السُّخْطِ تُبْدِي الْمَسَاوِيَ. That the pleasing eye does not see the shortcoming of someone. And the critical eye look after mistakes and shortcomings.
Yeah.
That عين السخط, or the angry eye or jealous eye that look for the fault. Therefore here they said, Ya ayyuha al-aziz. They call him as his title, or the man in charge, or the minister. Inna lahu aban shaykhan kabira. His father is an old man. Who's the father? The father of Yusuf too. They telling Yusuf alayhi salam how's your father look like now. Aban shaykhan kabira. فخذ أحدنا مكانه. Take one of us in his place. Why are they saying that? إِنَّا نَرَاكَ مِنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. This time they're scared of their father, because it's the second time. The second time they said they get away with it. The second time, first time, they told me they can get away with it. The second time, what are they going to say to him? He was not going to believe them, because they gave him an oath, a pledge, a commitment.
Right.
They would bring Binyamin back.
Right.
Although Yaqub alayhi salam said, إِلَّا يُحَاطَ بِكُمْ. If something out of your control happened, I would accept that. But they wanted to now to have one of them to be serving the time of Binyamin. Yusuf alayhi salam, what Binyamin, he doesn't want one of them. And Binyamin knows that he's going to stay with his brother.
Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قال معاذ الله أن نأخذ إلا من وجدنا متاعنا عنده إنا إذا لظالمون. He replied, God forbid that we should take anyone other than the person on whom we found our property. That would be unjust of us. Again, this reference to justice and what is right and what is wrong. I think there is an undercurrent of telling them, what they've done is wrong, and to remind them of justice. And it's a way to say, no, we can't. It's not going to work. You guys can't replace him. He has to be the one to stay. This is only what is just.
Yeah, I said earlier that some people have committed crime in America and around the world. Somebody else be punished for it in their place.
Yeah. Because
the elite, or because of the color of their skin and so forth, somebody else being punished for them. Here he established a rule that the person who commit the crime to do the time. Nobody else.
Right.
No one can replace someone. You cannot have a system by which you transfer guilt to somebody else. In the Quran also Allah said, وَلَا تَزُرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. No one be held accountable for the sin of the others. That's a very first system, established system in Islam. They don't punish people for the crime they committed, other people committed. In America, there's something also we have guilty by association. There's some people being punished because somebody saw them in a shaking hand with somebody, or some guilty by association. You cannot have guilt by association. You have a person who have committed a crime to be punished for it. The other aspect of this, he said, "Inna idhal ladhalimun." You just said, "Inna naraka min al-muhsinin." I want to be consistent in my ihsan, muhsinin. You just said about muhsinin. This will contradict being min al-muhsinin. If I take somebody in the place of someone who committed a crime, that would not be consistent with my characteristic,
right,
or my personality of being muhsin.
Right.
Yeah, because it said inna idhan ladhalimun, and there's no one knew injustice more than Yusuf alayhi.
Yeah.
He's experienced injustice at all levels, in family level, in the caravan, people in the caravan, the wife of Al-Aziz, and then being put in prisons. He knew what injustice looked like.
He knew what injustice looks like, and this also points to a principle in Islam that no one will take the sin of another, as you pointed out, and that's a bigger theological point against original sin, or for anyone to inherit the sin of their forefathers, for people to be, yes, as you said, guilty by association. And at the same time, Islam's position against the idea that there can be a sacrificial lamb that can take the sins of all of humanity. I mean, this idea is not something we subscribe to.
And then this collective punishment.
And collective punishment, as we're seeing so clearly in Gaza and in Lebanon and other
killing
places.
Men and women and children in collective punishment, punishing people. And you're not even punishing them for a crime they have committed. None of their family and so forth committed that crime. Collective punishment and complete collective starvation and all of these kind of things you see all over the world.
Well, Imam Majid, I think this is a good place to stop, and we will continue next week with the conversation with Yaqub alayhi salam, inshallah. Jazakallahu khairan. We hope you enjoyed this conversation, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Share this episode with others who may be interested in the meaning of the Quran. Also, we love hearing from our listeners. Tell us your reflections at Quran.conversations, our Instagram page. We read every single one. Finally, we hope this podcast encourages your own reflective journey with the Quran. This week's reflection prompt is, have you ever wronged someone and been asked to acknowledge your mistake? How did you react? How did it make you feel? How does the story of Yusuf and his brothers impact how you think about your actions? Until next week, salam.